eXp Realty versus Keller Williams Realty training. What's the best option for newly licensed real estate agents today? Well, in this video, I'm going to share my firsthand experience starting out in real estate with the biggest KW office in their entire network, as well as contrasting that to my experience helping over 100 newly licensed real estate agents launch their careers with eXp Realty. And if you're new to the channel, my name's Tyler Roicki. I help people build income and wealth in real estate, and I run an international real estate team at eXp Realty. If you get any value whatsoever out of this video, all I'd ask is that you like, comment, and hit that subscribe button so that I can continue to share more tips and resources with you on your real estate journey moving forward. And with that in mind, let's dive right into the video. So I want to say first and foremost that starting out in real estate 8 years ago, I had a very positive experience with KW getting started. I got to see and experience firsthand what it was like to go through their training to ultimately learn the industry brand new from scratch and get moving forward towards closing my first few deals. And compare and contrast, and having learned a lot of things along the way, I've seen what the difference is with eXp, and I'm gonna break it all down for you over the next few minutes here. There's really 4 key things that we're gonna dive into. First and foremost is the difference in messaging in marketing. So KW very consistently over a long period of time has led with the idea and their value proposition being that they are the best real estate training company. And in fact, I can think of back when I was interviewing brokerages as a newly licensed agent, something that stood out to me about what they shared with me was that they had the best training, not just out of any real estate brokerage, but out of any company in the United States for new associates. And I can't remember what exactly the reference was on who said that or did a study or what have you, but to me that stood out because when you're new to the real estate business, one of the most important things is the training and really being able to learn the industry and how to navigate it all correctly, because we don't learn that in real estate licensing school. So it really falls on the brokerage and what is provided there. So very important, they sold me on the training. That's the number one reason why I decided to get started with Keller Williams, seeing my options at the time, which the brokerages I interviewed were one other franchise and then 2 independent brokers and then KW. So I interviewed 4, I went with KW because of the training. So what does the training consist of? Well, this is where I'm gonna start to compare and contrast with eXp, because eXp doesn't lead with the same message. Like KW has marketed themselves as having the best training in the industry, and other companies don't necessarily market themselves the same way. And I can't speak to everyone else, but I can speak to eXp from my firsthand experience with it. More on that in a moment. But programs, what it consists of? Well, with Keller Williams, the crash course for newly licensed real estate agents is the Ignite program. And so that was my first month within the brokerage. So it's set up to go over the course of, mostly a month, like 3 to 4 weeks. And it's Ignite, and it's a series of training modules, and they have a curriculum around it, but they'll bring in instructors, some of which are some of the top producing agents in the market center who are willing to come in and teach these different segments. And that consisted over the first 3 to 4 weeks, coming in person throughout the day, being in the classroom and learning from the instructors, going over all the course material, learning about the different forms of how to generate leads, which I'd say is the biggest thing, but also some of the details working with buyers, sellers, contracts, all of that good stuff. But here's the biggest thing. After that point, it's pretty much, hey, go out and apply what you learned here and go and make some business happen. And then from that point, there are additional programs available at an added cost. So to break it down, KW offers Ignite. That's your first month on board with the brokerage. That's all the classroom learning. And then you've got Bold, which is paid. It's an 8-week program. It costs about $800. And over the course of 8 weeks, which, it's like 1 day every week to be clear, but you're coming in person, and it's really, if I had to boil it down to something, it's getting you into motion where you're actually doing what you should be doing, which is generating business. So you'll get fired up to hit the phones and to start to prospecting and generate leads which is honestly what you should be doing regardless if it's in bold or any other scenario, regardless if you're paying or not to, get in that kind of mode. But that's what bold is, and I'm probably not doing it any justice, but like reality is it is at a cost, and that's what it's going to get you to do, which is to generate leads. And then there's also KWU, which there's free and paid options available as far as the curriculum and material in that, but that's another resource KW agents will have to plug into. And then there's coaching, which productivity coaching is something available, which they might pose as a solution to you after Ignite. But the thing is, there's going to be a cost out of your closings to actually get that. So it's a percentage of your closed deals, at least at the market center I was at. That's how it was set up. So basically they're taking a portion of your commission, and that's how the productivity coach is compensated out of all the deals you close if you're signed up to do that. Now, that being said, as you'll hear often, every market center with KW is independently owned and operated. So that may vary somewhat market center to market center, but bottom line is you're going to pay something to get that additional help and coaching and any of the stuff that coach is bringing to the table value wise. And then beyond that, there's KW Maps coaching, which just continues to build upon what's available to help agents build and dial in the stuff they need for their business to increase their production and ultimately build and scale that out. With eXp, on the other hand, let's compare and contrast. So with eXp, you get Fast Start, and you also get the Go Mentee curriculum, which I would say that's our equivalent of Ignite. That's a crash course designed for newly licensed real estate agents. Where it differs a lot is this is self-paced online learning modules. So it's super comprehensive, super detailed, a ton of videos. The biggest difference is you don't have to show up a particular day, a particular time, and to be there. And I know for a lot of people getting started in the industry, that is a difference maker depending on what kind of commitments you have outside of real estate, especially throughout the day. But regardless, it's set up more in a way that you can do it on your own time and get it done sooner, later, whenever you'd like to. And that's also where our training starts. So even once you're through our Go Mentee curriculum and done with all the newly licensed agent material, there is so much more on top of that that's available from that point on. And it's not paid, it's not at an additional cost. So we have the Icon training series. That's where you get to learn from top producers all across the map. There's literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Icon agents, and a lot of them have training in our recorded library to access. There's hundreds of hours of recorded trainings taught by our Icon agents. There's also different curriculums and learning paths, including, there's an Excel series, there's a Level Up series, there's even eXp commercial specific training. And then on top of that, there's a lot that each of our state specific broker teams put together on a weekly basis, including weekly contracts trainings in your exact state, weekly state meetings. Even some states do more than that. But the biggest difference when I think about training in terms of KW versus eXp is KW, it basically stops after your first month once you're done with Ignite, unless you're making the most of KWU and any of the free trainings in there, or if you're paying additional money for Bold, for the additional paid KWU courses, and then also the coaching available. And so that's their business model. Our business model is everything you could get training wise is free for no additional cost. And it's very comprehensive and it's ongoing. There never comes a point in time where the training ends at eXp. So that's the difference. So kind of getting into things, and actually that will lead me to my third thing I want to dive into here, which is my experience with both. And it comes down to really what I just said. KW, like firsthand, I spent less than a month working on training, and then I went out and went to apply it. And I was pretty much on my own to figure it out. I didn't opt into any of the additional stuff. I did like a 1 day of Bold because they let us go and see and check it out what it was like. So I got to see what it was like and experience it for a day. Financially, it did not make sense for me at the time to spend $800 on that. In hindsight, I think I could make the argument of, hey, if it helped me generate more business, it'd probably been worth it. But I didn't have $800 to do that as a newly licensed agent. And I know a lot of people can relate to that. So the additional paid stuff, it's, it can be challenging challenging when you're just starting out your career and really need to make the most of what you can do to generate business without spending an arm and what seems like an arm and a leg at the time for it with money you actually don't even have. For me, like, the whole reason I joined KW was based on that first month. After that first month, I really wasn't getting ongoing value out of any of the additional things that they offered for an added cost. But I managed to apply enough of what I learned from that first month to get my first deal, and then my next deal closed. And by that point, I felt I had a pretty good grasp, but I know there's a lot of agents out there that need more than that. Like, specifically, one of the things I struggled the most on was how to fill out a contract. And, I was just kind of having to bootstrap it and figure out who I was gonna ask for help in getting it done. And fortunately, I was able to find an agent that kind of helped walk me through and kind of show me how to properly do it. And I used the template of what we did to kind of help me figure out how to fill out the contracts from that point onward. But I didn't really have a particular person to go to for that. Mentorship is something that could be available in both situations. Again, I know market centers at KW are independently owned and operated. The one I was out of had a mentorship program, but they didn't make you enroll in it. It was optional. So again, I saw that as an added cost that I didn't want to spend. At eXp, you're actually opted into a mentor program from the get-go. So they actually pair up every single one of our newly licensed agents with a certified mentor in their local market. So that helps and assures that someone newly licensed actually has a person to go to for that help and support. But with contracts specifically, like I mentioned, eXp does a weekly contracts class. So there's a ton of opportunity to learn those things that you might otherwise be on your own just to figure it all out. And then contrast that to my experience with eXp. While I was not a newly licensed agent myself when I joined eXp, a big part of what I do is helping newly licensed agents launch their career successfully here at eXp. And so they all go through the newly licensed agent crash course, and then they have unending training after that. And then on top of that, there's a ton of masterminds to plug into that are agent led from top producers all across our company, to where you can hop on Zoom calls and really sponge and learn from people, which that's actually, I think, why a lot of people want to be a part of a local bricks and mortar office, is this idea they'll have the opportunity to do that. Well, what I found is there's actually more of an opportunity to do that with eXp, with all of our agent-led masterminds that anyone can tap into no matter where they're located. In my experience, even starting at the largest office, 800 plus agents at the time in the KW network, there weren't a lot of top producers to learn from in the office at any given point. In fact, if there were top producers, most of the time they're in their own little office and their door's not always open. So there were literally not even a handful of people that I could say on a consistent basis were there that you could potentially learn from. And so you really had to be outgoing and to take initiative and figure out where to connect with people. They weren't just in the office ready for you to sit next to and learn from. That just was not an opportunity that existed. eXp, you have the opportunity to hop on masterminds all throughout the week if you like to. And I actually tell people, don't be learning all week. Day one, sure, spend maybe up to half your time learning, but make sure you take the other half and go and apply what you learned. And then the more time goes on, the more of your time you should be applying what you learned and not just learning all day every day. But here's what I'd suggest, and that's my fourth point in this video. What would I suggest if you're newly licensed in the real estate industry today, trying to figure out what's what and ultimately what's right for you? I would tell you there is a place for each. As long as bricks and mortar exists, there is a place for each. Now, eXp is going to be the best option for those who are self-starters, who make the most of the resources they're given and can implement. It's also best for those who are starting part-time in the real estate industry, because eXp allows them to access the training that they're going to need on their own time versus having to set aside the time to come in and get the training in person. So those are the two sets of people that eXp is for sure going to be the best option for. KW might be the best option if you want to do your training live and in person, or need more hand holding. Just know this, if that's the case. When it's done, it's done. When you're done with the Ignite, it's done. The only option is gonna be either pay more to go through all this additional stuff that's solely geared towards just helping you generate leads, which it's not, honestly, after Ignite, it's not that you're not going to know how to generate leads. You will. The only question is, are you actually doing it? And that's where that other stuff is really set up to get you in motion, where you're doing what you already know that you need to do. And so when Ignite's done, it's done. You're either going to pay a premium for the additional value you could get, or you're gonna go through Ignite again, which I don't really think there's much of a point in that at all unless you just weren't even paying attention or sleeping through it. And so like either way, like you're on your own when class isn't in session. You've got to go out and make it happen. There comes a time where like you're either gonna go and apply yourself to this, put in the work, or you're not, and time's gonna pass and you're eventually gonna get out of the business. So if you're someone who feels like you need more hand-holding, I wouldn't say that you necessarily would get more of it by being in person, but it's probably something that you might feel like you do. And you know, maybe that's gonna help you muster up the courage to do what it is you know you need to do, to make the calls, to make the prospecting. Maybe if you're surrounded with like 2 or 3 other newly licensed agents who are all doing the same thing, maybe that will help you. But you know, there's equally as much of an opportunity to do that within eXp if you're really utilizing the resources to connect with people and to plug into what we have. But you know, the biggest thing, you're gonna find there's a whole lot more of it, especially in the way of training, that you can tap into to help you level up your business and your life, as long as you want to build upon what it is you're doing in real estate. So there you have it, eXp Realty versus Keller Williams Realty training, what it looks like. And here's what I tell you at this point: if you have any questions, if there's anything I can potentially do to help you now or in the future, go ahead and send me an email. You'll find that in the description below, especially if you're looking at getting started in real estate. If you want to learn more about kind of what it would look like to hit the ground running with eXp, and especially if you want to see how you can put yourself in the best position to do that, I'm in a position where I can help with that. If KW is the direction you want to go, you best connect with the person in your local market area, in the market center you're looking at, whose job it is to, you know, help people explore the company and ultimately come on board. But if eXp sounds interesting, I'd love to connect more and see how I could best help you. So send me an email. And beyond that, if you got value out of this video, all I would ask is that you like, comment, and hit the subscribe button so that I can continue to share more tips and resources with you on the journey ahead. And thank you so much for watching the video. Until next time, I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.